One-time aid, a permanent test of values. Across the state, a small number of municipalities are receiving an unusual infusion of one-time state aid funding created not by economic boom, but by long overdue recognition of deep educational and fiscal distress. Although this money does not make up for Ned Lamont's 8 years of fiscal child neglect, is a significant stopgap measure. This money exists for one reason: students in our districts have been shortchanged for years. The question facing local leaders now is not whether schools need the support. That truth is already embedded in the formula used to distribute these dollars. The real question is whether those who control municipal budgets are prepared to act as if children come first, even when doing so requires a clear and public choice. These funds must go to education, all of them. Anything else is evasion. This revenue is not a windfall. It is not extra funding. It is an admission that certain districts have been asked to operate schools under conditions no serious policymaker would call adequate. The Pequot distribution formula itself tells the story: concentrated poverty, limited property wealth, and a long record of local underinvestment in public education. Communities receiving this aid did not end up here by chance. The data was decisive. Treating these dollars like interchangeable municipal revenue ignores why they exist in the first place. A familiar argument always appears in municipalities in moments like this. Because the money is one time, it should not be used for schools, or at least not embedded into the MBR permanently increasing education funding levels. That logic collapses under even modest scrutiny. For decades, underfunded school systems have been forced to absorb the consequences of state and local structural neglect in one-time ways. Programs eliminated, staff positions cut, maintenance deferred, supports rationed, and obligations pushed into the future. Students have already paid the steep price of permanent austerity by mortgaging their futures. Directing these funds into a district's required education budget is not reckless. It is responsible. Base education funding is where staffing is stabilized, special education pressures are managed honestly, and educational programs are restored without placing schools back at the cliff's edge the following year. History matters. Some of the districts receiving this aid contribute less per pupil locally than almost anywhere else in the state. Others make sacrifices elsewhere to make up the shortfall. Whatever the case, our districts face the same inadequate levels when compared to the Gold Coast. When schools are perpetually funded at the bottom, every diversion of education-directed revenue becomes a continuation of an established pattern, not a fiscal necessity. You cannot claim education is a priority while consistently funding it as an afterthought. This is not overfunding. It is catching up. Districts that can, especially my home city of Bridgeport, should include these dollars as part of the MBR. Warnings about too much money ring hollow in communities that have never meaningfully tested what adequacy looks like. You cannot overfund something that has been systematically starved. Diverting education-driven aid away from schools is not a technical budget decision. It is a choice, and it will be understood as one. When funding arrives because of documented educational harm, there is no moral or policy justification for sending it anywhere else. Put the money in education. Put it in the MBR. Put it where history shows it too often never goes. Anything less is not fiscal caution, it is a statement of values. And it is one communities can no longer afford to make.